right, here's the review of the dyno. So I posted a video. It made like 970 wheel, 970 torque with the twin turbo kit at right around 20 pounds, which this was the whole point of me doing these in stages. Everybody knows I have the Atlas, the port controller. I have a bunch of other stuff I didn't put on the car yet because I wanted to do a true comparison of the single turbo kit versus the twin turbo kit. And this is what I wanted. This is the result, and I am very happy. I'm actually kind of shocked the difference here, but overall, just the numbers here. And I took graphs. I didn't get to overlay them on the dyno. When I go back to Mike's, I'll actually do it on the dyno, but I basically grabbed incrementals from 3,500 to 6,250 and just punched them in Excel. And this is pretty much, exactly what it is. I have the pictures of all the dynos and all my stuff in there, so I just bring them over. So anyways, to the numbers. Here's the numbers in the RPM. You can see the single made it peak horsepower of 887 at 5,500 RPM, and it had a peak of 950 torque at 4,500 RPM. And then the twin turbo kit carried the horsepower to peak RPM, which was 6,250, made 968 horse. And the torque came in right around the same as the previous kit, a little bit beforehand, and made 970. So both of those numbers are at 20 pounds of boost on the dyno. Same 93 pump, same triple nozzle meth, same intake manifold, same all that. It's basically the twin turbo kit versus the single turbo kit. And actually the twin turbo kit, I did have the 15-inch Hoosiers on it. The single kit, I had 17-inch Mickey Thompson drag radials. So they both kind of impact numbers versus like a standard wheel and tire with a hard tread wear. But I'm not thinking too much into that. I'm sure the 15s flex more on the dyno, which means it takes more horsepower, but it's pretty much a moot point. So peak, we got 81 more horsepower and 20 more foot-pounds of torque, which the 20 doesn't really see much, but I'll show you on the graph. And then the 81, that's a pretty good substantial gain, especially for the same boost, same motor, same everything. That's a pretty good gain. And then I'll show you the graphs too. And then I did a quick diff on the horsepower and torque. And you can see the twin turbo made more power everywhere in the curve, especially in the higher RN or the higher top end, high RPMs. So here's the graphs, and this is what's important to me when I'm looking at dynos, is the area under the curve, right? That's where your shit's fast, is under the curve. The ones that have a quick peak and then fall off, they usually don't go that fast. So first we'll go with the single, which is the blue. So here's the horsepower. It came up and then it fell off pretty quick. It did fall off pretty quick here. And then the single horsepower or the single turbo torque has always been a torque monster. It made a bunch of torque and then it fell off pretty steep here in the higher RPM. 20 pounds of boost, that's that ProMod Garrett. It's basically a ProMod 76. Works good. It makes power. The car went fast. Did like 148 in the quarter. Dips into the fours on the draggy. So yeah, it did pretty well here. And then the twin turbo is the red. So the horsepower here, we'll do that. It's making more horsepower across the whole RPM sweep. And then up here in the higher RPM, let me bring it down just a little bit. Here's 5,000 here, 5,200, 5,500, 6,000. Higher RPM, that horsepower is just soaring way above the horsepower for the single kit. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, the area under the curve. I mean, this just falls off and this just climbs. That's going to be very, very nice on the track and out making poles on here, the horsepower alone. That also shows the efficiency of the kit, the turbos, the turbine size, the compressor size, even the charge pipes. I went to a 2-inch charge pipe on each turbo going up into the intercooler, and then a 3.5-inch out of the intercooler into the throttle body. Nick Williams 103 throttle body. It seems to be working. It's hard to argue this, guys. It pulled till red line and kept increasing power. So very, very happy with that. The torque, this is what I was really interested in, because for whatever reason, the last year's combo, the single, was a torque monster. It always made more torque at 10 pounds, 15, 20 pounds. It always made more torque. And you can see that here on the blue. Always made more torque than horsepower. And the red twin turbo torque line, more torque across the board. Across the board. Got close down here, but I mean, you're still over 900 foot-pounds of torque here for the low RPM. And then it slowly started dipping off, which is fine. Versus the old one. Look at the area under the graph here, right? Look at the old torque, or I'm sorry, this is the old torque. This is the new torque. That's crazy. That's crazy at RPM. So the turbos are working. The Pulsars, they are the 58 millimeter. They're working really, really well on this cubic inch with this combo. Everything's working out really well, and very, very happy. I did not expect to turn it up. I originally just wanted to make sure everything worked. Everything did work. No issues at all on the dyno. The one thing, my tuner Mike Formusa out of Rochester, go to these plugs, ITV 24s, and gap them at 30. I always write them down because when you order them, you always know. I had, I want to say I had NGKs before, and I had those for a couple of years, and they worked pretty good. But Mike said to go to that plug. Once you start making some power and you really start pushing it, go to that plug. So listen to your tuners. And I should have actually asked him that beforehand, because I would have changed these at home instead of on the dyno, and I burned the shit out of my hands. All right, here's the log. This is what Mike sent me. Again, guys, work with your tuners, man. We trust them to make power. We trust them to keep our motors together. We trust them to help us make decisions on buying parts. I mean, it's a good relationship to have. So here you can see it is 19.6, whatever, 20 pounds. I call it 20. And then slowly dipped off like 1.5 pounds by the top RPM. Everything's good. The big difference here that Mike immediately noticed and told me about is right here, the low side fuel pressure. This is the low side here. So this low side is starting to fall off to where it used to be, right? And that is in direct relation to the horsepower that it's pulling on the top end, right? It's using that fuel up here, where before it would fall off here and it never really had to use that fuel. Now it's using the fuel in the motor, and you can clearly see it right here on the low end. So for fuel, I have the LT4 intake pump and the DSX auxiliary pump, which I believe is a 255. So I'll be adding a secondary auxiliary pump. SMG is looking really good. They got a really nice kit out there for that, so I might grab that and put it on, and I'll let you guys know how that works. It'd be great to see that consistently up here. It's not impacting the high side. Again, Mike said, you know, it's not impacting yet. Everything's good. Air fuel's good. High side's good. But this is not something that we want. That's not what the tuner wants. That's not what I want to see. We want to get that up just to make sure. And the port's going to use that low side, right? So those 8 injectors on the port are going to be pulling away from the low side, which is going to directly impact the high side. So we'll get that changed up, get that figured out, but everything looks really good. Very happy. I can't wait to drive it, put some miles on it. And, you know, next is the Atlas. We're going to put it on. play around with it. I got a bunch of suspension stuff I need to do. I have those Renegade axles I got to put in it. I have all the diff braces and the bushings from BMR. Other than that, she's ripping. So yeah, here's the comparison: twin turbo versus a really good single kit. I'm very happy, very happy.